Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode.
Before we get started today, I just wanted to thank the listeners who have taken a look at the shop and have bought some things. Thanks so much for your support of the podcast. And for those of you who would like to support the podcast and get something in return, just wanted to let you know that we've put some new items into the shop, have some new colors of the Shetland and a few new colors of the gray overdyed merino as well. I also have put in some unwashed fleece portions of 8 ounces. I heard from some of you that you were interested maybe in doing a little fleece processing on a small scale. If you're interested in fleece processing that starts with an already washed fleece, just let me know and I can put some washed fleece samples up in the shop as well. I also have some colored fleeces available, so if you're interested in unwashed fleece portions or washed fleece portions and you'd prefer to have a colored fleece, let me know that as well and I can see what I can do to put some of that in the shop. Thank you to all of our fiber adventures. The shop address is 2usfiberadventures.com. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show.
Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Yeah, it's a Saturday morning. I want to welcome all the listeners. It's a Saturday morning, and this is later than we usually record. We usually record during the week. So you're going to get the real thing here, no editing.
Oh, really? No editing?
Very light editing. We'll just call it raw and unfiltered.
Okay. Yes, we had planned to record, I think it was on Thursday, and life got in the way.
Yes.
And then Friday, life got in the way, and so here we are.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, since it's Saturday morning, we're not drinking alcohol. I'm having coffee.
Yes. And I had my coffee already because I was up early with Robert on his way to work, so...
Yeah. Well, so projects, what are you working on?
Well... Right now, at this moment, I have ripped out, while Marsha and I were talking before we started recording, I ripped out the sock that I knit on the 9-inch circulars.
Oh, right.
Because it was too small. And so I ripped it back to the ribbing. The ribbing, I think, is fine. And then I just added some stitches. And so now I'm just working on the 9-inch circular socks because it's a nice, easy thing to work on during the podcast. So I picked those back up and started them again. So there's that project. And then I'm still working on the Summer Fjord. I actually have to wind my second skein, I think, because I'm not alternating skeins. I had originally thought I would, but linen is so hard to manage anyway, and I just thought, you know what? It just sounds horrible. So after I started knitting with it, I thought, no, I think it'll be okay, but when I get to the part where I have to add in the new skein, I'll alternate skeins at that point for, a few inches. So I'm actually most of the way down the body. So it will only be the very bottom of the body if I do run out from this one skein. And I think I will. It'll only just be the very bottom of the body that will be the new skein. So I think it'll work fine to just alternate skeins for a few rows before I start the new one. But I'm at the point where I think I need to wind it. And I didn't have time to do that this morning before we recorded, because you have to be really intentional when you wind linen.
Well, and are you winding linen on your ball winder, or are you just winding it into a ball?
Oh, good Lord. I know. So, yes, in the thing that the little class that Elizabeth Doherty gave us on linen, which she's doing that at Monarch. She's having 2 classes at Monarch this month. Maybe one of them is over. Anyway, that just popped into my mind. I meant to go to one of those classes. I might have missed it. She recommended in the class that she gave on linen that you wind the linen by hand and you wind it tightly. Unlike wool, that you don't want to wind tightly because it'll stretch it out, and then, it's bad for it to sit in any kind of ball for too long. A hank is better. But linen is not like that, she said. And so, but this is a 600-yard skein of lace weight. No way. That is not happening. I am not hand winding.
Did you wind it with the ball winder?
Yeah, so I wound the first skein with the ball winder, and then I have one of those yarn cozies, the Buffy Ann Designs one. It's like a sock for your yarn cake. And I've been using that, and it worked great until I got to the very, very end where I am now. And I pull from the inside because I like that, and it kept it really well arranged. And now, occasionally I would have to put my fingers in and stretch it, stretch out the center so the center was open. And now it's just the outer part. It's like a ring, a donut of yarn. And so I'm just pulling it carefully. It lays on the bottom of my bag, and I just pull it from the donut. It's not in the yarn sock anymore. Okay. But it's working. It's working okay.
Okay.
But I did not have time to wind a new one.
Okay. All right.
So, and then, so anyway, I'm working on that, but that's why I'm not actually working on it at the moment. Because it makes pretty good knitting for podcasting, because it's stockinette with some pattern stitches, but it's slip stitches and garter stitch ridges. So it's a pretty nice, easy pattern.
I'm just going to interrupt just to say about winding the linen. Because I bought the Fibra Natura linen, do you remember, down in Eugene?
Yeah.
And for my swatch, I had to wind it into a ball, and I did it doesn't have the yardage that you're talking about,
right.
So it was a little bit easier to wind it into a ball, or so I thought. I found it really hard to wind it into a ball, a handmade ball, not on the ball winder. And it was so hard. It kept slipping off and everything, because she said wind it tightly, and I just couldn't do it. So I ended up winding it onto an old toilet paper tube.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
And I just kind of made a notch in one end and stuck put a little knot in the yarn, and then put it through that little slot in the toilet paper tube that I created to hold it in place. And then the toilet paper tube actually sort of collapsed, and then I wound it really tightly onto that, and that seemed to work better for me. I just had a hard time getting the ball started.
Yeah. I used to take the balls that I made on the ball winder and slide them off the tube of the ball winder onto a tube of toilet paper.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea too.
And then I stored them that way. I would do that a lot when I had yarn that I was going to do, like 2-ply. But, I mean, you don't really need to. But that might be a good thing for something like linen, where you don't really want it to collapse into the center. But then you have to pull from the outside.
Yeah.
But so that's an idea too. So anyway, that sweater's moving along. I'm thinking about putting on sleeves. It has a drop shoulder with no sleeves. So, the drop shoulder part of it just kind of makes a sleeve. But I think I'll pick up stitches and make sleeves on this. I don't know what size sleeves. I have a lot of yarn left if I don't. And I guess that's not a really good reason for putting a sleeve on your sweater. But
well, it's not a bad reason. It's just as good a reason as any. Right?
I love this. I really like this yarn, and I want to use it. So I think I will put sleeves on this sweater. And I was thinking I don't know if I'll do it or not, but I was thinking when I pick up the stitches, sometimes that looks messy. And so I was thinking I might pick up the stitches and do something really purposeful. Like I've never done one of those horizontal braids.
Yes. What is that, like Estonian
braid or whatever it was. You did it on one of your sweaters.
Yes, I did it on the
I don't remember which one.
I don't remember the name of it, but it's the kind of maroon colored one out of the Savannah.
Okay,
you can find it on my page.
It's a short sleeved one, right?
Yeah, and it looks nice because it's that would be a really good idea because it would make it seem, as you said, purposeful.
Right.
Yeah, part of the design. Yeah.
So I think I might do that. Use that braid. Pick up stitches, use that braid, and then do sleeves. And if I do that, I could even do like 3/4 length sleeves. Or I even like the length of the ones on my cherry vanilla. I don't know if they weren't purposefully done as what they call bracelet length, but they turned out like they're a little bit longer than a normal 3/4 length. And I like those sleeves too.
Kelly, while you were talking, I looked up my T-shirt. Oh. It's called Ricky for All Seasons by Vera Sannon.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I don't remember what that was called, but it is something like Estonian braid or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that might be kind of fun to do that. So that's what I've been working on, and then I just this morning finished my second charity hat. I still have to weave in ends and stuff, but. So I made one hat that I used a gray Knit Picks swish or something. It was spirit yarn from my mom, a leftover project that she had. And so it's called Molly, and it's just a textured background, like a broken rib or something like that. And then there's a big cable that goes up one side of the hat. Really cute. Fun to knit. And then the next hat is one that is just kind of my own design. It actually inspired by the Ricky hat, but I knit flat at first, and then I bind off a few stitches. So then I have a little, and then I join it and knit in the round. So you have a little tab, and then I'm going to put a button on the tab.
Okay.
And then instead of the Ricky hat is normally like garter stitch all the way up, but I did some garter stitch, I did some stockinette, I did bands of garter and stockinette, and I changed colors because I was running out of the one yarn and I needed to supplement in another color, so it's 2 colors. Anyways, it was fun. Used up yarn. So I used up one skein of gray doing the Molly hat, and then I used up another skein. It was a leftover skein from my Cracker Jack hat of gray. And I used up that skein plus some of, that maroon and blue Cascade 220 that you sent me a long time ago?
Yes.
So I used up some of that blue Cascade 220. So charity hats.
Are you about done with all of that yarn that I sent you?
I actually have another hat going that I started, I don't know, last year sometime. That was the blue and the burgundy. And at one point I thought, why am I doing this? Because, that yarn's so old, and it had been stored. When you first sent it to me, I had stored it.
Well, let me just back up. Before I sent it to you, I had stored it.
Yeah. So we had both stored it in not very good ways. And so I'm knitting along, and, there's a break. Okay, spit splice. Oh, I'm knitting along. Oh, there's a break. Okay, spit splice. And finally I just thought, why am I doing this? Why don't I just throw this away? Because it's moth-eaten. And then I thought, I'll just put it, it doesn't still have moths. It just has moth damage from when it was being stored that way. So from some point in its life, it has moth damage. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna put it away for now and, set it in the knitting bag. And if I decide to come back to it, I come back to it. If I decide I want to throw it in the compost, I can do that too. So I might go back to it. But it was just that ball, just those 2 balls that had the problem, because this one that I just worked with was perfectly fine. And I used it for a baby blanket. I used some of that yarn for a baby blanket too, and it was perfectly fine. So yeah, I don't know, just this one particular batch of it was problematic. So I have some of it left. I've used some of it for bears. You had a lot of that yarn. I don't know how much
I had. Well, because we've talked about this before, but when I made sweaters before, I made them. That was the style.
Right.
They were huge, right?
Yeah.
And I bought that yarn. I remember, I know how old that yarn is because I bought it when I was on maternity leave, thinking that I was going to knit a sweater when I was on maternity leave, which we've talked about the absurdity of that, And so, yeah, I bought that. So I was making those sweaters huge.
Yeah.
That was the style.
So I think when you sent it to me, probably, I would say it was probably close to 1,800 yards.
Probably.
And some of it was in little balls already.
Well, because it's the one I was doing that in targe. It was supposed to look like a quilt. Right. And yeah, that's the one that almost, that's the one that I almost threw in the garbage can because I hated it so much.
Right.
But,
well,
yeah, it was a.
So some of those little teeny balls went in the well house to be used to tie up plants. Mm-hmm. So I don't have the full amount of it, but yeah, it's mostly used. I guess I can say mostly used now. Very little of it is left. Oh my gosh! So
anyway,
yeah. So that's where I am. My starting a new project is sort of frustrated because I made a swatch of the Sincere Sheep Cormo, which I want to use to make a poncho with some color work. And then I started doing the color work, and the yarn I was doing the color work with is long color repeat singles. So I'm doing a swatch. And so I thought, I'll swatch color work. And it's the long repeat singles. So in the swatch, it's not doing what I want it to do. And I don't know if in the bigger project it will do what I want it to do. And I'm not experienced enough with color work to know. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't look that great. And so I'm sort of back to the drawing board on that. I don't know if I'm going to use this skein of singles for the color work. So that's kind of stalled. And then the other, the Cowichan sweater is on hold until I get it back from the Santa Cruz County Fair. Mm-hmm. So it went straight from the Monterey County Fair to the Santa Cruz County Fair. Someone brought it. One of the Ann's Web women asked me if it could go in the Santa Cruz County Fair, and I said sure. And so she took it, and she'll bring it back at our next meeting.
I saw someone, a listener, I think, posted a picture of the basket at the fair.
Ellen, who is in the Santa Cruz Knit Guild, she posted a picture of the basket. I never made it to the fair. I was going to try to go, but I had spent 5 days straight at our Monterey County Fair. It's kind of like, okay, I have some stuff I have to get done around the house. I can't go to the fair another weekend. So I never made it out to the Santa Cruz County Fair. But my yarn did and got honorable mention. So,
nice.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the comments when it comes back. So, yeah. But I'm waiting. I can't start my sweater until I get my yarn.
Yeah. So is that it for projects?
Yeah.
Or? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Those are my projects.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm working on.
Yeah, do.
I'm sitting here knitting on the Among the Shadows, the shawl that I always am working on when we record right now. Mm-hmm. But I have to tell you, 2 weeks ago when we recorded, I must have stopped in the middle of a row and then picked it back up and kept knitting, but I knit the wrong direction. So I did an unintentional short row. And I knit. So this pattern is ribs of garter stitch interrupted with 3 rows of knit. or a stockinette.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes these ridges. And it was... You ever had those moments where like, I don't understand this. I couldn't comprehend what had happened. I picked it up and I looked at it and it's like, oh, that's wrong. And then I looked at it again and like, oh, no, it's right.
Yes.
And I looked at it again. No, it's wrong because I'm looking at opposite ends of the shawl. So one end it's correct. One side it's correct. The other side it's incorrect. So I had done about 2.5 inches, which I had to rip out to correct my mistake. And it's, so that was 2 weeks ago. Oh, a little over 2 weeks ago. And finally, last Saturday, I just sat down and thought, okay, I have to fix this. Because I was going to be in the car on Sunday, and I thought, I want to work on this, so I have to get ready to work. I can't fix it in the car. I have to fix it. So I did fix it, and that's what I'm working on. I'm back on track and paying attention.
Are you back to virgin yarn?
No, I'm not.
Yeah. I'm knitting with crinkly yarn right now because like I said, I'm knitting on the sock that I just ripped out.
Yeah.
But it's always nice when you get back to the nice, smooth yarn.
Yes. And I have to tell you why I'm not back to my smooth virgin yarn. because it's because I've sort of become obsessed with a project. But before I get to that project, I've been working on my Recoleta cardigan by Joji Locatelli. And I've done... It's slow going because I have to follow a chart. And I think the last time we recorded, I was talking about how I was trying to make sense of the chart and all the markers. I've not memorized the pattern, that's for sure. I have to refer to the chart, but I've got all my markers in that correspond with the colors, the lines I've drawn lengthwise in the chart, and I've made really good progress. And I've not, because for a while there I was making some mistakes and having to rip back. I'm now making good progress, so much so that I'm now put the arms, the sleeves on holders.
Oh, wow.
Waist yarn, and I'm now down to the waist shaping.
Nice.
So it's going pretty quickly. But even that now has slowed down a little bit because, Kelly, and this is your fault. And the other day my thought was, damn you, Kelly. Because you know what I'm going to talk about. Is you got me into this combo spinning.
Yes.
And we had a conversation on the phone. I don't even, maybe it was the last time we recorded or something else. We were having a conversation on the phone and you were talking about combo spinning do I understand this is the way it really started, is that a lot of times when people belong to fiber clubs or yarn clubs and they are sent those braids of roving, and then what do you do with them all? And someone came up with the idea of spinning yarn out of all these different colorways. And so you were telling me about it, and I don't have any dyed roving. I don't typically buy those braids. So, but I had a lot of just blank, undyed roving, and so I dyed yarn. I'm trying to think what day
dyed
it was. It was a Friday night. I dyed roving, yes, I'm sorry. I think, was it last Friday night? I can't remember when I did it.
Yeah, I think it was.
And I was, because I suddenly got what do we say, a bee in my bonnet about it. I don't know what happened. It's like, oh, I want to dye that yarn, or that fiber, that roving. I want to do everything. And then suddenly it was like 6 o'clock, dinner time. I was supposed to be making dinner, but I just got out the dye pot and the dyes, and in the middle of all that, I made dinner, which was a very quick, simple dinner. But and then I finished about 9:30, 10. Anyway, I had a pound of roving that I bought at the Pendleton Woolen Mills in Portland. It was just rolled up at one big ball. So I had a pound of that, and I decided I just wanted to have a little bit more. So I found in my stash that I had Corriedale. I have to say, too, that the stuff from the Pendleton, it just has wool top. So I don't know what kind of wool it is. I think it's probably merino, but I'm not 100% sure. And then in my stash, I had Corriedale top roving that I had bought, I think, when I first got the spinning wheel. And so I pulled out a half pound of that. And so what I did is I measured off about 6 to 8 foot long lengths of the roving. And I had 2. So I have 2 for each colorway that I did. And then I must have had 10 of those lengths because I did 5 different colorways.
Oh, okay.
And I dyed what am I trying to say? So the 2 lengths of roving that I had, I would dye 2 of them in one colorway, 2 in another colorway, So I ended up with 5. And I went crazy with color, as you know, because we started talking in the middle of all this, or texting, I think, in the middle of this. And I just thought, I'm just going to try all my dye and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I had bought some new colors that I had not tried before. I have spruce and chestnut, pumpkin, orange. Oh, I had also bought a brown, but I did not use that. And then some of the other colors that I already had mixed up. And then what I did was, after they were dried, I took those lengths and I split each length of roving into 3 long lengths.
Okay.
And then broke those. And then we had talked about this, is what people do is when the color changes, you break that off. And if the colorway is a little long, you basically want like 4-inch long pieces of fiber.
Of one color, yeah.
Of one color. And then those seemed to kind of thick. So I then actually, all of those, I just broke those small pieces in half again, lengthwise. Mm-hmm. And I laid them out on the bed. I just threw them on the bed and I tossed them around.
Yeah. Let me just tell you what Marsha, what her original thought was that was horrifying to me. She said, well, to mix them up, I think I'll just put them all in the dryer and turn it on. Like,
on air fluff, no heat though.
That just sounded too scary. I can take a knitted sweater and throw it in the washing machine, throw it in the dryer, a washable, like a cotton or linen or whatever. And I do that with my washable hand knits all the time. But the idea of putting these little puffs of fiber into the dryer just made me horrified.
Yes. Well, and I think because you were so horrified, I decided not to do that. So as I say, I just dumped them, not all of them. So I ended up with, what do I have? I think I have 6 bags. I wanted to keep everything kind of separate, right? So what I did is I must have had 6 colorways. I don't remember now. Anyway, the thing is, I tried to put one, when I split those lengths of roving into 3, I took one of each colorway and put it in a Ziploc bag.
Okay.
I'm trying to make all the colors even distribution.
And you're going to make a 3-ply, right?
Yes, I'm going to make a 3-ply. So I would take one Ziploc bag, divide them all up by, so now I have one of each colorway in there. I then broke them into the little pieces, split those in half, put all of that on just one collection of yarn from a Ziploc bag on the bed, tossed it around, and then I tried putting it like in a just like a grocery sack, because I wanted it in something that I couldn't see the color. I wanted to be able to just reach my hand in and pull it out, and that's what I spun with. So it's completely random, but it didn't really work somehow. So I just have this big wooden bowl that I just dump them in there, and what I do is I can see all the colors, but what I do is I close my eyes, or I just look the other direction and I grab a skein, a little piece.
Oh, nice.
And that's what I spin with. And sometimes I have grabbed the exact same color that I just finished spinning with. And I will say then I don't spin with that one.
Okay.
I do throw it. I throw it back. And I know that's probably not really 100% correct.
Well,
but I'm not.
It's not like there's the combo spin police.
Yeah, that's true. But I thought then I might end up with such a long, it may be weird, so I just throw that one back. And then, but some of the colorways are similar, but I still just spin with it anyway.
Yeah.
The only time I don't spin with it is if it is exactly the same piece that I just finished spinning. Yeah, just spun. So I have one bobbin, and I'm halfway through my second bobbin.
Oh, fun.
And this is why my comment is, well, damn you, Kelly, because it really is kind of an obsession. Like, all I want to do is just spin, because you want to see how it's, like, I can hardly wait to ply it.
Right.
And see, because my colors are so bright. I have hot fuchsia and hot turquoise and this bright yellow and this bright pumpkin. And then I have more subtle colors because it's just the way the dye took. And and some of the colors are more subtle. And then, of course, as you pre-draft those little pieces, the color changes a little bit. And so I'm really curious to see now when I take all these bright colors intermixed with some really deep, rich colors, light and dark, how that's all going to apply together. Is it just going to become this mass, and it's just going to look, if you take all those colors as dyes and you throw them in a dye pot, you're going to get brown or mud, right? But now you're going to take dyed fiber and you spin it all together. Am I going to have mud? What am I going to have? I don't know. I'm curious.
Well, all the combo spin yarns that I've seen, I thought were really pretty, especially the 3-ply ones. I think it's good that you're doing a 3-ply, because I think those are of the combo spin yarns that I've seen, those are the ones that I've thought are the prettiest. But they're all really pretty. I'm really intrigued by this idea, and I want to do a combo spin too. I haven't started yet because I know the addictive quality. Plus I don't have any more braids. I've spun all mine, and then I don't have any more. I don't have any bumps of plain roving either, because I've got so much fleece. So I've been thinking about it, but I'd like to do I would like to do a combo spin.
So when I was reading on Ravelry, I was reading about combo spin, and I watched a video about it. Some people are actually taking braids that are similar in color. Like they pick braids that have pink and green in them, or more blues or more browns or whatever. I'm doing all these different colors, so I'm curious how that's going to be.
Well, there's a woman in the Anne's Web group, Kathy, who did a combo spin that was in the fair. She had all her yarn in the basket category in the fair, and it was gorgeous. And it was all the yarn she got from a particular fiber club that she was in, and this one was different colors. Because every month she got a new one, a new thing, or I don't know if it's monthly or quarterly. I think monthly, but anyway. But they were also not just different colors, but different fibers, different wools, and just all mixed together. And so that one wasn't a oh, these are all similar colorways. It was the same dyer, so I guess you could say that there would be an aesthetic there. But with all that different fiber, I would think that there would have been a lot of variety in the colors and what the braids look like. So I think it runs the gamut what people have done.
Yeah, and that's what that was what I was also going to add to what you just said, is that I was looking at a lot of these projects, and they had braids that were wool, blends of wool and silk, alpaca. So they were just combining all different kinds of fiber together. And now I'm using all wool, and I just have the half pound of the Corriedale and then a pound of unknown wool. I don't know what it is, but that's intriguing to me too, that you can combine colors and combine fiber.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like you're making your own version of the Stonehenge crazy that we think is so much fun. I'm very intrigued by the idea. I think it would be really fun to do. Yeah. But it's going to have to wait for me. It's going to have to wait at least a little while. I might get sucked into this bandwagon before the end of the winter, but yeah. In fact, well, we'll talk a little bit later, but I was thinking about all the different things you could do with it, because people make sweaters, right? That's the project, but I was thinking of maybe making a blanket.
I know, that's what I was thinking. If you if you spend enough of it, you could make you could weave a blanket.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, a woven blanket would be really fun.
I always think in terms of knitting or crocheting, because that's what I do. But you could weave this. Yeah.
So I will not be on the sidelines of this bandwagon for very long.
Well, I have to tell you, it's so. Fair warning: if you start this. It is an addiction that I find myself getting sort of irritated that a friend wants to go do something.
like when I called and said,
time away.
Like when I called and said, Marsha, we need to podcast at a different time. Like,
yeah, I'm like,
darn it, that was my spinning day.
Yes, I'm giving up my spinning to record.
Oh, fun.
Anyway, so it took me, that first bobbin took me about 3 days, I think, to fill it up. The second one's a little slower going because I've had some interruptions, but I think after we have to hurry up and record, Kelly, so I can get back to it. Exactly. I want to fill that second bobbin today.
Cool.
Anyway.
Very cool.
So that's it for projects for me. I don't really have anything else going on.
Okay, yeah, that's it for me too. Well, Marsha wasn't the only one who was dyeing last weekend. She was texting me pictures of the braids that she was dyeing and splitting apart and putting into bags and contemplating throwing in the dryer. And I was sending her pictures of the yarn that I was dyeing. I spent a good part of Saturday and Sunday in the garage dyeing some of the yarn. I want to use some of the Shetland that we had processed into yarn to make. I want to make some boot toppers or maybe leg warmers, something like that. And so I thought, I'll do some dyeing because we've got some more yarn and I can put some more yarn in the shop with kind of updated colors. So I dyed yarns with kind of eggplant purple and kind of a rose color and a burnt orange, and I made some different colors of oranges and browns, and I used a teal that I had, and then I kind of blended some dyes to make a greener version of the teal. Anyway, so I had a great time with dye last weekend too. And one of the reasons is that I want to do some small and satisfying projects. And so Marsha and I have decided that everybody would probably like to do some small and satisfying projects. So we're going to have a single shot project along, small satisfying projects, like a shot of bourbon, small and satisfying.
We said quick and satisfying, a shot of bourbon.
Quick and satisfying. That's right. Small. No. We don't want small shots of bourbon. We want quick and satisfying.
Yeah.
A project. So, so we're going to have a contest with a giveaway. A small project, around 200 yards or so, knit, crochet. Just do something quick and satisfying. And if you are someone who has purchased one of the skeins of yarn that we have in the shop, this might be a good time to use it. If you have a skein of yarn from someone else that you've been wondering what you're going to do, this might be a good time to use it. Oftentimes when you have hand-dyed yarn, you might just buy one skein or two skeins, and you need a small project. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. And maybe I'll even put up a bundle in the group so that people can share their ideas of small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Their single shot. Yeah. Get some single shot inspiration and kind of have some ideas of what kind of small projects you can make. It doesn't have to be a garment or an accessory. It could be a toy or something else. The idea is just to do something that, we've been, like I've knit all these tees over the spring and summer, and Marsha's on a sweater and she's knit other sweaters. A lot of us are knitting sweaters in the Two Knitlit Chicks sweater knit along that starts next month in October. I'll be doing the Cowichan sweater for that. And those are fun, but when you get into the middle, the beginning of a sweater is fun. Finishing the sweater is fun. When you're in the middle of the sweater, sometimes you just really need something that's just going to be quick.
Quick, yeah.
So
fun and done.
Oh, I like that too. Fun and done. Our single shot project, fun and done. Yes.
Maybe we need to rename our single shot.
No editing this episode, Marsha, so we can't.
Yeah.
the along with multiple names. It'll be like one of those Russian novels.
Yes.
where everyone has 3 or 4 names. You can't keep them straight.
Yeah.
So I'll put up a prize thread in the Ravelry group for this, and we'll get started. It's going to start as soon as this podcast gets published, which will be this weekend, and it will go until November 1st. So we'll probably be recording November 1st, and so that's a good date to have everything in there, and then we can draw prizes.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm already have some ideas, so.
Yeah, well, and I'm really excited to see some of the yarn knit up, because I've done swatches for this yarn, but I haven't actually made a project yet. So this is going to be my first project out of this yarn. And like I said, I'd be really excited. I know Jen, Pearl Girl Jen, posted a picture of something she had knit with yarn she had purchased from us. But I would be excited to see what other listeners who have bought yarn, what they're doing with it. So yeah. All right. Or, what they're doing with any yarn, really. It's the small projects are kind of nice to have a little repertoire of things that you can just kind of grab. So
yeah.
More than just a hat.
Yeah.
I mean, hats are good, but there's only so many hats I can wear where I live.
Right. Well, and I'm thinking of doing a hat, Kelly.
Well, no, that's good. You were saying you needed a hat.
I need hats, yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about how you don't have a hand knit hat for your dog walking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Anyway.
So that's
all right. And I'm excited about it. I think it'll be fun. So.
I do too.
Yeah. So we need to talk about our next thing.
Yes, we have another really exciting idea. There have been quite a few people talking about weaving, and actually we have quite a few members, Marsha, quite a few new members who are weavers. And it was funny because as I was looking at, I was sending them little messages to welcome them and looking at their project pages and their profiles and noticing that there were a lot of them who were weavers. And I was thinking, okay, did I say something somewhere about doing this thing that's in my head and someone has spread the word already? I had to stop and think, and I was like, no, I don't think I've said anything about this. So anyway, I have now mentioned a little bit on the discussion board about having a winter weave along. And there was some interest in doing this, and Marsha has a loom, a table loom. Is it still warped?
No.
Okay, so it
did not arrive warped.
Oh, okay. Because I was trying to remember if it had been the one that I think I put the warp for Ben to play with when he was little, because this was a long time ago.
Yes.
He's not little anymore. I must have put it on my table loom and then sent you home with the extra one.
Yeah.
So yeah, Marsha has a table loom. I have a table loom. Actually, as listeners know, I have multiple looms, but the table loom is accessible right now. And so a lot of people in the discussion groups who are our listeners have been talking about weaving. We have a lot of new members. Welcome new members. We have a lot of new members who are weavers. So I just thought it would be fun to have a winter weave along. So here are the details. It's going to go for 6 months. It's going to start in October and go all the way through March. And I'm sorry if you don't live in the Northern Hemisphere. This is very Northern Hemisphere centric. I apologize. You can call it a spring weave along if you're going to join us. I have no problem with that. But it's going to go 6 months long. And the idea of it is that I'm going to include some weaving instruction. And I'm hoping to be able to deliver PDFs through the podcast feed. So I know it's possible to do. I just have never done it. So if you're subscribed to the podcast on your podcast app, whatever app you use, you will get not only the audio podcast, but you'll get PDF information, and so you can get some handouts. So that's what I'm thinking of. And then I'm not very proficient at video. My phone does video, and I have a little tripod that I got to do videos of my beekeeping. And that has been only, I would say, marginally successful. This is for like the daily or the weekly inspection. I was going to record it so then I could go look at it, so then I could like see things that I maybe didn't see while I was in the midst of the inspection. That has been not successful at all. But I do have a little tripod, so I think I might be able to do a little short video tutorials, post them in the Ravelry group. We'll put up a project discussion thread, and so people will have some community and some weaving help. We have some very experienced weavers, Mary for example, knit admin in our group, and some others who have just joined who look like they are experienced weavers as well. So there should be a lot of help for those of you who are just starting and just wanting to do some weaving.
And I'm gonna need the help because I've never set the loom up ever,
right. So we're gonna start with selecting your yarn and winding your warp and threading the heddles and slaying the reed and all that vocabulary. That's
yes, a whole new vocabulary I need to learn.
Right. So we'll just say dressing the loom. We'll start with choosing the yarn and winding the warp and dressing the loom, and then different weave structures and patterns. And I might publish like a little sampler project if people want to just do a sampler. It's not like we're going to be all weaving blankets. So it'll be all levels. People can pick their own project. I know some people have rigid heddle looms, which I'm actually not so familiar with. I know the warping process is different for those. The weaving is the same, but the warping process is different. So rigid heddle loom, floor loom, table loom. You could use a pot holder loom. I think I'll give instructions for how to make a really cool cardboard loom that you can use to make a little like bag, like a phone case or a little pouch bag.
Okay.
And then there's also a loom that you can make with a particular kind of wall board. I want to say text something. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a wall board that's kind of like bulletin board, but it's it holds a nail a little bit more sturdily than a bulletin board would. Okay. Anyway, you take that wall board and you put nails in it and then you loop the yarn around and you make you basically warp the loom that way and then you weave. So there's all kinds of different. You don't have to have an actual loom. You don't have to go purchase a loom or have purchased a loom to be able to do weaving. So I thought that would be kind of fun, and we'll have a finished object thread in the end for people's finished objects. We'll have discussion, we'll have prizes, and we'll be able to spend 6 months focusing on weaving. Not exclusively. Marsha and I are still going to knit. We're still going to talk about knitting, but this particular little adventure will be a weaving adventure.
Well, I'm excited about it, and because I have a lot of yarn to use up, so that's another way to use spirit yarn, weaving. And I've had this loom in my basement for 15 years, maybe. Something like that you sent me. So I'm excited to actually use it. When you suggested this, my first thought was, oh no, I'm in the middle of this combo spin. How am I going to do one more thing? But because it's the timeline, we have several, 6 months to do this. So it's completely doable.
Yeah, and
I'm excited about it.
And if you if it's just to learn how to weave and learn your loom, you can do a sampler, And a sampler doesn't have to be very wide, which means it doesn't have to take very much time to get the loom ready. And then once it's on, it doesn't have to be a really long project, but you get to learn the different aspects of weaving. So anyway, that's my thoughts, and I'm excited. It'll be like I'll be leading a class, a 6-month weaving class. I'll be leading a weaving class, and hopefully the rest of the people in the group who are also experienced will contribute and help lead the class. I won't say I'll teach the class. I'm leading the class.
Yeah.
We'll all be learning together.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. And then we'll have prizes.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And some of them will be weaving specific, which will be fun.
Yeah.
Weaving tools.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about it, and so we'll talk about it more coming up.
And just saying, weaving's another good use for some of the yarns in our shop. To use fiberadventures.com.
Yeah.
Not to be a commercial or anything, but
it's a commercial.
But there is yarn in the shop. So, yeah.
Well, I have one last little thing. Actually, two things. I'm getting close to the mic. Sorry. I'm going to grab my little article. In the New York Times on September 19th, on Tuesdays, they always have a science section in the New York Times, and I will put a link in the show notes. There was an interesting article about weavers in Mexico. I think it's Teotihuacan del Valle, Mexico. I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing that right way. I'm sorry. But I will also put a link in there and how this particular area of Mexico is predominantly weavers, and they've used to use natural dyes. That's how they started. Mm-hmm. And with industrialization and the invention of these, what would you call them?
Commercial dyes.
Commercial dyes, they switched over and they were using commercial dyes, but they've become concerned about the environment, and so they now are going back to the natural dyes. And some of the people, because they were also afraid they were going to lose this art form because the population is aging and they were losing the knowledge. So it's an interesting article how they're switching back to the natural dyes and how they're collecting the dyes, processing the dyes to make the yarn for weaving, and then it has some pictures of the blankets that they make and some history. So anyway, I won't go into the whole article, but I'll just put a link in the show notes to that article because it is kind of interesting. And then also, Kelly, I was just sitting here thinking, and the one thing when I was talking about spinning my combo yarn, I did tell you this one story about spinning, and it cracked me up. I thought it was so funny. Is I start spinning and I hear my wheel rubbing. So I get out my oil and I oil it, and it's rubbing again, and I'm spinning and it's rubbing, and I finally stop, and I just hold the little, whatever that, there's a name for it, but the little cord that, the little rope that goes around the wheel and then around the whirl for the bobbin, and I'm moving that, and I'm looking at the wheel, what is it rubbing on? And I go back and I oil it some more, and I go back to, spinning, and it's rubbing, and I can't figure out why. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, it was my jeans. Where every time I pushed down the treadle, the edge of the cap of my jean would hit the wheel. And I had been spinning all summer, but I've been in shorts the whole summer. It's the first time I put jeans on. It took me, I'm embarrassed to say, it took me like an hour to figure it out. What was going on?
The hazards of cool weather spinning.
Yes. And I was really like, what is wrong with my wheel? Like, what have I, maybe because we did have a really hot, dry summer, like maybe and I don't leave my wheel anywhere near a window that the sun can hit it, but I thought, gosh, you should think maybe just the heat in the house has warped my wheel. I was so worried.
And it was your jeans.
My jeans, yeah.
That's funny.
Anyway, that's it. Anyway, so, I think that's it. That's the only thing.
Okay, well, the only thing left then is just to talk about some of our upcoming events. I'm going to be at Lambtown this year. Lambtown is in October. I want to say 7th through 9th. It's like the first weekend in October. I think I talked about it last time. Let me just get the dates again more specifically. 6th, 7th, and 8th is Lambtown. It's in Dixon, California. So that's exciting. It's a fiber festival, a nice small fiber festival. It has lamb to eat, and it has beer to drink, and it has fleece judging, and it has sheepdog trials, which were really fun to watch last year. So I'll be at Lambtown. Lots of other people are going to be there too. I know the Yarniacs are going to be there. The two Knitlet chicks are going to be there. Quite a few people from the Knockers retreat, who have attended, like the Bay Area. People in the California, San Francisco Bay Area are going to be there. We'll see Tracy probably. So anyway, I'm excited about doing that. That's in October. And then I don't have anything else planned that I can tell you about, except I just do want to say that I'll be at Stitches this year again, and I'm taking a class. Did I tell you that, Marsha?
Oh, no.
I'm taking a class at Stitches. Don't worry, it does not conflict with the Saturday get-together. That was important to me. It's like, okay, my class choice is mostly dependent on, it can't be on Saturday, because Saturday is for the get-together.
Yeah.
But I'm taking an Argyle class.
Oh no, actually you did tell me this.
Yeah, I'm really
I remember
excited about this. I'm taking an Argyle class, and when I signed up, it listed 2 times. It's Friday. I think it's on Friday. I believe it's on Friday. It's 2 different times. And I thought, there's 2 of them. So I picked the Argyle class. And no, it's both times. So it's a 6-hour class. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to learn a lot about Argyle. And Robert wants a pair of Argyle socks. He's been wanting them forever. And I have a whole package of like vintage spirit yarn, sock yarn, that I think is going to be what I use. So
okay.
So that's that. There's the Stitches event. And then you have an event that's coming up. Well next year, but still.
Well, next year. So I don't know what I'm doing this fall, but I'm coming down. I'm going to join you at Stitches. So that's February. And then I'm coming back down to California in April for the Knockers retreat, the Northern California Knitters retreat. And then in between that, in March, I'm going to Scotland.
That is so exciting.
Yes, I'm excited. And I specifically, the framework for the trip is to be there for the Edinburgh Yarn Fest, which
mid-March.
It's mid-March. Yeah, I can't remember the exact dates.
Fine.
I'll know.
Yeah, it's a long ways away. Mid-March is good enough for now.
Yes. Anyway, but I'm going with my friend Kim K. Magden on Ravelry, and we got together I think 2 weeks ago I printed out the calendar for the month of March to sort of figure out dates, when the Yarn Fest is, when we want to fly in, when we want to fly out. So we haven't nailed anything down specifically. And then I bought a map of Scotland, and I bought a guidebook that I've been reading to sort of get the lay of the land and what we want to do. And so I'll have more information about that, but that's, I'm excited about that. That's my first, it will be my first international fibery thing.
Nice. Well, so, and Edinburgh Yarn Fest sounds so fun.
Yeah.
I know they have a podcasters lounge where, it's like a place where they have kind of ongoing meetups, and there are a couple of UK podcasters that I listen to that are always involved. Louise from Knit British and Louise from Caithness Craft have talked about it several different years. So it sounds like it would be really fun. I'm really excited for you.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. And then I think what I'm going to do at some point, I will start a thread. I thought it'd be fun to start a thread in our Ravelry.
Oh, yeah.
In our discussion group. So if people have some suggestions of things that we should do, restaurants, yarn shops.
Right.
I've heard of some yarn shops, something that we think that we should not miss. They can maybe let us know. It'd be great to get some feedback.
And find out who else is going.
Yeah,
so
that's
you can
true.
make sure you connect with any other listeners who are going to the Edinburgh Yarn Fest. The podcast lounge makes it really... Well, I haven't ever been there, so I'm sounding like I know what I'm talking about. But that sounds like it would make it a good... it would make it easy. It would facilitate getting together with listeners.
Well, it'd be a good place to coordinate a time to meet at the...
Finding your fiber friends at Edinburgh Yarn Fest is a lot easier, it seems like. Because they actually have a dedicated location, so... And very cool. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. And March, I'm sure the weather will be awful, which is just fine by me because it means we can wear wool or hand knits. And
you can sit by fires and knit
and have a wee dram.
You can have your quick and satisfying shot.
What did we say? Fun and fast and fun.
Fun and done.
Fun and done. That was it. Yeah.
But no, we don't want small shots, and we don't want the shots to be done.
No, and actually, with these fine scotches,
the wee dram sounds better.
Yeah. So and with the wee dram, you don't want to drink it shot wise. That way, you want to savor it. Right. So that would be a crime to do shots of some fine. Some fine scotch. So no, we won't be doing shots. No, that's not. Ooh, no. Anyway, so that's what's on my schedule.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's the end then.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All righty. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com. We have links for iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, and others.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.